we are kicking it off really, really high. We got all the way from the mothership, from Parliment, Funkadelic. Ladies and gentlemen, Garrett, Starchild, Jr., Shiner. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise. So today we are going to get into a little bit of intricacies of the funk, of recording the funk, on how the master vocalist, the lead vocalist, George Clinton himself, breaks down his vocals in the studio and how he layers his vocals and show you how to get like the big sound that we love and that moves the popular music today, because it's all stemmed from where he's from. So, we're gonna get into this thing. If everybody can come a little bit closer too, so we're not all spread out. Get cozy in here. Yeah, we on live, so Facebook Live, you know what I'm saying? What up, y'all? We out here. Got my man Starchild in the building, so this is epic. So we're gonna get started here. We'll get into this first tune. We cooked up a tune called Funk and Vibe. I produced the beat. Show you how. Well, not how I did it, but he'll tell you how he broke it down, and added the sauce and the extra tastiness that made the track sound like an instant classic, as I would call it, So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Garrett, Starchild, Jr. Scheider.
Thank you very much, D-Vibes. How's everybody doing? We'll start there. Yeah, I thank you all for coming. Hello, everybody on Facebook Live that's checking it out right now. So, first off, y'all bear with me because this is my first master class, so I'm going to be kind of winging my way through this and just feeling my way out. I figure before we get started with the actual music, I would take some time to maybe answer some questions if anybody had any questions about the P-Funk in particular, any questions about any of that music, any of that kind of stuff that I might be able to answer for you guys, or any questions about my own experiences with the band. I figure I'll get that out the way now before we get into the actual recording process. That way we can kind of get it warmed up. Does there anybody out there have any questions or any comments or anything before we get started? Show of hands. All right, and we're through that part. Wet, go for it.
Or like a lyrical idea or some sort of concept or anything like that?
So, being as though you're dealing with a band of this size and so many people that have been like in and out of it, you end up having a lot of different ideas, and essentially that's what George is the master of, is being able to kind of, to kind of be the general of that kind of thing, right? Of that many entities, musicians, a lot of them really good, and being able to kind of, culminate that and rein it in and get something out of it, right? So essentially, the best way to do that a lot of the times is to just kind of let the musicians do their thing. So in some instances, a lot of instances, yeah, probably some jams where they just kind of came together and, jammed up a concept and, they elaborated from there. There's other times where people came with a concept. There's other times where George, in particular, we're talking about like Knee Deep, where my understanding is George essentially came to Junie and told him, gave him kind of the basics of the idea that he had in his head, which was something like, the melody of the song, which is like, I need something like don't, he just kind of hums it to the musicians, and they just interpret it from what he's kind of, humming to them, because George doesn't play any instruments, but he has a ton of ideas. So sometimes he would come to the table with concepts, or sometimes other musicians would come to the table with just songs that they might have written, or just ideas for concepts, or just maybe a hook. because a lot of the P-Funk songs were just, you know, kind of a compilation of just like hooks and lines and stuff. So, and be that the fact, that made it where essentially whoever was in the studio could kind of contribute. So to answer your question, I guess, yes, yes, and yes. All those processes were probably applied. Yeah, because you got a pretty extensive catalog of songs, and you know, like I said, a lot of musicians kind of coming together, and in a lot of instances, a lot of people who probably really weren't even in the band, just in the studio at the time. So a lot of stuff that is credited to people in the band might have just been someone who was just there. So yeah, but
that's cool. Thank you.
Yeah,
cool.
Anyone else? No, you guys are a quiet bunch.
Don't be shy.
Oh, no, it's cool, it's cool, it's cool. So, I'll tell you what, let's get on into this song. So this particular song, we call it Funkin' Vibes. And D-Vibe sent me the track and asked me to just kind of, you know, let my ideas flow. And when I heard it, it just kind of reminded me of like, you know, I aged myself, I'm in my mid-40s, right? So it just reminded me of when I was in high school, some of that good hip-hop riding music or whatever. And, you know, I had a thing for like Nate Dogg, you know what I mean? I used to do sing a lot of hooks when I was younger for rappers, and, you know, I did my own rap thing, so I would sing a lot of my hooks. So when I heard the track, I just essentially just went into that mindset, and I essentially just let the track just kind of guide me as far as an idea for a concept and a flow for it. And essentially, that's how I build a lot of my tracks. If I don't already have the track and I'm doing the music myself, then I essentially just start with the music. You know what I mean? And for me, the root of every song is the bass, right? So I typically start there anytime I record if I don't already have a concept of what I'm going to write. And bass. All the other instrumentation that I can hear, and then from there, as I'm doing that, I typically start hearing a concept. So I let the music kind of tell me what I'm going to write about a lot of times. Because when I sit down and try to pre-conceptualize something, I overthink it. I'm an overthinker. I'm a like terrible overthinker. So that's my flow. Is I'll write the music, or I'll listen to the music, and then I let the music tell me kind of which direction to go, and I just kind of hum. So if you play the track, you know, I just take something like that, and then I'll just hum whatever comes to my mind. So that hook melody came to my mind first, so it was like da 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 da. I heard that. So when I hear that, then I just have to put words to it, which is kind of that's probably my weakest point of writing is lyrics, because I'm an overthinker. So what I did was just try to simplify it and just, you know, see what was in my mind, and, you know, the track gave me a good vibe. So I was like, well, that's what I'm going with. It's gonna be a vibe. You know what I mean? So that's where my concepts come from. Essentially, the music creates my concepts. That's what it is. The music guides me. That's how I do it. And so once I have my idea, and in this instance, we're starting with the hook, what I like to do is I like to do stacks. And that's what I learned in P University and all my times as a kid in the studio with Parliment. That's how a lot of the vocal stylings that you hear with Parliment, being as though they also have a lot of vocalists, that's a different kind of effect. But the real meat and potatoes of what they get vocally is in the stacks. So you might hear a note, and what they would do is they would get, my dad in particular, because he did a lot of the vocal arranging, so I'd watch him do this, and he'd get whoever was in the studio, even if you didn't sing, he'd just gather you up, and, you know, he would kind of coax you into singing his note. He'd hear a note, and he'd get everybody, you know, he'd get everybody around the mic, and he'd give them their note, and they'll sing their note. And then he'd say, again, do it one more time. to do another track of it. You stack that note, same note. You might say, do it one more time. Stack the same note. So you got 3 stacks of the same note. And then he'll have another note. So then he'll coach everybody, this is your note, this is your note. You flat. Get it. You know, he was a drill sergeant, but, you know, he was a lovable drill sergeant. Give them the next note and same deal. 1 stack, 2 stacks, 3 stacks. You know, however many notes he had, he allocated to all the singers, and then he proceed to stack them. So in my instance, I'm recording alone without a bunch of vocals, but the same concept applies, right? The real perspective in thinking when arranging those P-Funk style vocals, it's kind of like well, not kind of. It's a church choir perspective is what it is, right? So when you're in the church choir, it's typically a big choir, a conglomerate of a lot of people, right? But when you're in the church, you have a lot of people who might not be the greatest of singers. They're singing for the Lord, right? And that's what it's for, right? So it's not necessarily about everybody necessarily being on pitch or whatever. You know, you got Brother Calvin who is kind of tone deaf, right? But his enthusiasm is, you know, like not to be denied, right? Because that's what it's about. You know, that's the spirit. You know what I mean? That's what you're doing it for, right? That applies to the P-Funk record. So that's why I say you didn't even have to really be a singer if you were in the studio, especially with my dad. If you were there, then you were going to be a singer that day, because he knew it didn't really matter if you could necessarily hit the note right on. He just needed your enthusiasm, right? And all of that I apply to what I'm doing, even when I'm doing a smooth track like that. So what I planned to do was I was going to kind of do a demonstration of how I stack those vocals on that hook for you guys. So that's what we're going to try to do. So what I did in this instance here with this song is I started with my root note that I had, which is so I said, hanging out with my tribe, and the atmosphere is live. It's a good funkin' vibe. I have to go to this mic to record, correct? All right, so I'm gonna record that. Mute this. Hanging out with my tribe, and the atmosphere is live. It's a good funkin' vibe. Yep. Just gonna get that. Hanging out with my tribe, and the atmosphere is live. It's a good funkin' vibe. Let's do another one. Just gonna get that. Hanging out with my tribe, and the atmosphere is live. It's a good funkin' vibe. Let's do one more. 3 is my go-to. I like 3 stacks. Just gonna get that.
Hanging out with my tribe, and the atmosphere is live. It's a good funkin' vibe.
So that's that note. So now I go to my next note, right? Let's see. Would you play that for me? Just gonna get that. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing with the next. Hold on, I'm talking. We're gonna do the same thing with the next note. All right, let's go. Just gonna get that.
Hanging out with my tribe, and the atmosphere is live. It's a good funkin' vibe.
Right, 2 more of those, please. Just gonna get that.
Hanging out with my tribe, and the atmosphere is live. It's a good funkin' vibe.
1 more of those, please, sir. Just gonna get that.
Hanging out with my tribe, and the atmosphere is live. It's a good funkin' vibe.
So we got 3 of each so far. I think I did 1 more note. Would you play that for me? Let me get my bearings together real quick. I actually do this in the studio. Like I'm like crazy with notes in my head, and then I actually drop my stacks, and then I listen to them, and I'm like, that note's wrong. And I go scrap a couple of them, and I just go redo them again. I'm like always throwing a bunch of crap at the wall and then just stripping it down until I get it where I want it. So just play it, yeah.
Hanging out with my tribe.
I got it. All right, last stack, last note.
Hanging out with my tribe, and the atmosphere is live. It's a good funkin' vibe.
2 more of those, please. Can y'all hear it coming together? All right.
Hanging out with my tribe, and the atmosphere is live. It's a good funkin' vibe.
1 more, and that will complete the process. All right.
Hanging out with my tribe, and the atmosphere is live. It's a good funkin' vibe.
All right. Let's hear what we got. I'm gonna go. All right.
Hanging out with my tribe, and the atmosphere is live. It's a good funkin' vibe.
So that's essentially what I do. You know what I mean? That's the kind of Cliff Notes version of how I do it. And then the lead vocal, you know, after I have my hook and my concept, then, you know, that's where I really beat myself up trying to come up with my lyrics for my verses. And, you know, I'm terrible with lyrics, and I'm an overthinker, like I said before. So I don't always like what I write, but I've grown accustomed to just kind of go with it when it feels good. So that's another kind of tip that I would give you if you're in the studio. And, you know, like I said, a lot of us creators are overthinkers. So that's a real key to when you're in the studio, regardless of what kind of music you're doing. If it feels good, learn to just go with it and let it go. Even deeper than that, if you record around other folks, take yourself out of the equation and understand that we actually, though we make music to kind of soothe our own souls, we ultimately are in this profession to do music for the people. So if you're in the studio around other folks and other folks are, you know, kind of nodding and, you know, if they're grooving to it, then you're probably on to something. You know what I mean? So if you're an overthinker, keep that in mind, man. If it feels good, just go with it, all right? Simplicity is kind of beautiful here, which is another thing that makes our music kind of great, too, just to kind of get off on something else. Something that I wanted to touch on. A lot of people, they like they want to learn how to play our music, and they want to break it down. But there's a thing with our music that I'm even a victim to it when I started to learn as a member of the band and had to like learn as a musician, is you hear it one way, but it actually plays a different way, right? And it's hard to figure that out unless you actually get with someone who has already deciphered that code to show you, right? And so to kind of break the concept down of what's going on is to maybe slow it down in your mind is it's all about simplicity. No matter how complex it sounds, it's a lot of simplicity and it's a lot of space. So that's the key to our music as well, is learning how to create the space for all of the other instruments and even the vocalists to be able to play their parts. Because essentially what you have is a lot of just simple lines being stuck here, stuck there. But the collective of it, when it all comes together, it sounds like like a machine moving around. You know what I mean? It sounds like a whole bunch of parts moving on, going on, which it is. But, essentially each part is playing a very simplistic role to it. And the more simplistic that you apply your part to what's going on, to the soup, the more simplistic you're thinking about it, the better that it flows. You know what I mean? It's all about space. You know what I mean? So if you listen to it, think about that. It's all about space. You know what I mean? And it's all about simplicity. It's a lot of simple things happening, but the thing is to throw a lot of layers at the wall, right? Throw a lot of crap at the wall, and then you strip the layers down, and until you get a clear picture. So there's another concept and perspective that I approach my recording with, just FYI. So one other thing that I thought about doing as well, see, what I just did was specific to this track, but P-Funk has a lot of styles going on. So, you have some rock and roll, you have some dance music, you have some folk music, you have a lot of different styles going on. But I wanted to show you how the concepts kind of are the same no matter what the style is. Still all about, vocally, it's all about the choir perspective. It's all about thinking about it like you're approaching a choir. So what I wanted to do was I want to use this same track. I can do it with this same track. But one of the songs in my catalog is special to me because it's one of the first song that I ever received writers on and actually contributed to. And I was only 5 years old. But, this is my dad actually trying to show me guitar, and in him teaching me guitar, we wrote a song, and he took it and they put it on a record. So it's really cool. And it's called Pumping It Up. It's on the P-Funk All-Stars Urban Dance Floor Gorillas album, if you've never heard that record. If you have, Pumping It Up, I got writers on that song, really cool. And so when I listen to this track here, it's kind of along the lines of that same groove and Pumping It Up. I think Pumping It Up just might be like a minor key, and this is a major key, if I'm not mistaken. But I wanted to stack the pumping it up vocals and show you how the concept essentially applies to the same thing, you know, to even this style of a song, you know what I mean, from a smooth song to a more upbeat kind of dance kind of song, you know, this vocally the same concepts apply. So can we go to another space in that song where we can just add some random vocals? Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go to this other mic real quick.
Two. All right. So if y'all don't know this song is Pumping It Up. We actually have done this live a couple of times. I don't know if we've ever done it in Denver, but if you've been lucky enough to catch us live, you might have caught us doing this. But the hook goes, pumping it up, pump, 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 pump. All right, one more. I think I'm gonna make it. There we go. All right, got that one in. Do I hear another note? Play that for me. There we go. I'm ready. There we go. Y'all hear how that's coming together? Like a flower blossoming. There we go. One more time. I messed that one up. I do that in the studio too. So there we go. Doing good. One more time. I did it again. See, you jinxed me. There we go. Yeah, let's see that. See, you jinxed me. There we go.
I think really appealing about our band is the fact that it appears that we're always having a good time. That comes out vocally. You know, those vocals are fun. You know what I mean? That's why they're fun, because like I said, Brother Calvin in the choir, who might be a little bit tone deaf, he's very enthusiastic, and his enthusiasm is where the effect is at. As long as everybody is enthusiastic about what they're doing, and that's what my dad was really good at getting out of anybody in the studio, man. It didn't matter if you were a singer or not. He knew how to make you be a singer for that moment that he wanted you to be a singer, and he knew how to get the enthusiasm out of you. And yeah, he did pretty stuff just like that. So with that said, I'm gonna try to open it up to another line of questions. Anyone else have any questions? That was a section of Pumping It Up. Yeah, have you heard the track?
No, I haven't.
Okay, go back.
Okay, that was my second question. I would like to hear the track, actually.
Oh, well, you go back and pull it up. I'm sure you can go stream it. But check it out. That's the actual change section. And when you hear that, that's my dad. He actually created that himself. So I just recreated it to just kind of, reiterate the stacking effect and how it works. I don't know if I can think of something else that I might could stack real quick.
I have more of a comment.
Go for it.
I think it's real crazy the harmonies you choose. Like, they're not really typical. Like, they're very much like, in like 3 or 4 harmonies, you have more of like a choir effect. Because I think the second harmony that you hit, like, I would assume you were gonna hit like the third. And it was like 50-30 kind of, it was weird.
You just walked back in here, didn't you?
Yes.
The choir effect, right? We just was talking about that, right? Yes, indeed. But you're right. That comes from, so me choosing it, I didn't choose that, what I just did. Like I said, I got to give all credit to my dad. He created that. So my dad created that. So lucky me, I got a chance to grow up and watch him do that. And so essentially, everything that I'm applying to what I do vocally is everything that I watch him and watch them do. And, to reiterate, it's all about those stacks and approaching this with the perspective of trying to get a choral effect out of it, you know what I mean, as opposed to just putting backgrounds together. Because it's all about the enthusiasm, I don't know if you caught that when I was talking about Brother Calvin, Tone Deaf Brother Calvin. Did you miss that part? Yeah, so I was talking about Tone Deaf Brother Calvin in the choir. You know what I mean? He might not be able to hit the notes, but bless his heart, he's so enthusiastic about it, and he's singing for the Lord, and that's what we there for. So he's like, like you said, bless his heart, let him go. That enthusiasm, that's what we're going for. That's the effect. You know what I mean? So when we put all the people together, what I was actually explaining to them in a little more detail is that my dad, particularly when he would stack his vocals, he would use whoever was in the studio, whether they sang or not. And he was good at getting that enthusiasm out of people because that's what he needed, you know what I mean? Because he grew up in the church, so he understood that. That's what he was always going for. So yeah, the choir. That's what you're going for, is the choir effect. If you want to produce some sufficient funk style vocals, P-funk style vocals, it's all about the choral effect, man. We're always trying to be a choir, and we're always trying to be a happy, enthusiastic choir. You know what I mean? So that's what it is. That's why it always sounds like a party. Did y'all catch that, Dakota? And what was your name? Devion. I was going to remember it, and then as soon as I put myself on the spot, I forgot. Man, forgive me, Devion, but I got it. I'm glad y'all came to get some of this knowledge. Any more questions out there? Is anybody asking questions on the stream? Is anyone checking the comments to see if anyone has questions on the stream? We can't leave them out. Okay, no questions. Yeah, what a quiet bunch.
He has a full range from like being baritone to like having like a high like falsetto soprano like Prince. Those like two opposite. So if you can just show like a little bit,
How do I show that? I don't know.
Show the low, like the low.
What was that song you were singing earlier?
That was just a TikTok click. I don't remember that song. I don't know. Y'all, I'm sure some of y'all on TikTok. Are any of y'all hip to there's like this ocean page that all it shows is like these ships out on like these dangerous seas, and it kind of gets you seasick watching it because these ships are like being overrun with waves, but underneath the background is this same song going on, and this like this choral of like basses and baritones, and so the tone is something like da 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 da
da da da da, something like that. So they heard me singing that, and yeah. But I also, I think you might have heard it on that song, but I try to use a pretty high. I'm not very high, but my falsetto is pretty clear in the range that I can use it in. So I am kind of blessed to have a pretty deep voice, and I can also get pretty damn high when I want to. Yeah, 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 yeah. You know, not always clear, but yeah, so I'm pretty rangy. I don't know where that comes from, to be honest, because I don't have any deep voice singers anywhere in my family. All my uncles are musicians. All my dad's brothers, his dad, you know, like musicians. Most of them guitar players. So all of that runs in the family. But nobody has a deep voice. I'm the only one that has a deep voice. I am a smoker, but it's not the smoking, because I had a deep voice at 14 years old. I went to performing arts high school, and the funniest thing, right? At 14, I hadn't I still looked like I was like 11 years old, right? But I had the deepest voice in the entire school. I would grab a mic, I would sing a low note, because I sang in a barbershop quartet kind of thing, and I used to be the bass. So I would take the mic and I would be singing the bass note the whole time, and people would just be like looking at the stage, and then they would get finished and they would run up there, and everyone would kind of be like, "Who is the one singing the bass?" And they would point to me and they'd be like, "Oh my goodness, the baby is singing the bass. Let me hear you, let me hear you." So essentially people have been doing that about the bass voice since I was since I was 14 years old, and I'm kind of used to that one by now. But yeah, I don't know where the range came from. I'm just blessed to have the deep part, but I also got some of the high that all the Shiders were blessed with. So I got range. Lucky me, right? And I try to apply that to my backgrounds as well. My choral effect. I have like all four parts of the, I have all four voice parts. I have bass. I got the tenor. I got the alto, and I got the soprano. My soprano is limited though. Any other questions out there? Mm-hmm.
Almost on another level of P-Funk or Parliment. Who would you say?
Well, only really Bootsy only got to that level as a solo act out of this. But to be honest, I don't think I would even like look at it that way, right? What I would say is, I would essentially say, just kind of do a deep dive into the catalog, because if you do a deep dive into the catalog, you'll find that essentially most of the musicians out of the band had some kind of solo record going on, whether they left or not. Some of them had solo acts going on before they came to the band. You know what I mean? So, that's kind of the beauty of this band, is like you have a collection of some of the baddest musicians that ever graced this planet. Most of them could have been great as their own entities, and with that can come a certain level of ego when you're that great. You know what I mean? And George is the master of being able to control all of that, man, and rein it in, and get something positive out of that. You know what I mean? That's why it's beautiful. So it's not really about the solo acts in this, man. No matter what. And between Eddie Hazel's record, Bernie Worrell's record,
Glenn Goins' Quasar record, you know, when he left the band before he died. You know, all of Junie Morrison's records before and after P-Funk. You know what I mean? Like, it's countless of entities. Jerome Braley and his Mutiny stuff. You know, it's funky. You know, yeah, it just doesn't really matter. It's like, I don't think it's, you know, I guess to answer your question again, it flourished to that level, Bootsy, you know, but all of them are like great in their own right. You know what I mean? I'll just do a deep dive, man, because it's a lot of range to what those solo records as well, too. You know what I mean? So, yeah, just check it out, and you know, I think that one you probably just want to check that one out for yourself. You know, yeah. Anyone else?
Do you have any other examples? Like, do you guys have something else where you could show how many stacks, like what you were saying earlier, having like, okay, you got soprano, alto stacks, and then you got your bass, like in that sort of way? And then also, how many stacks of...
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we got one.
It's got to be plus like 40 if we're doing all of... It's got to be like you're doing soprano, alto, baritone, bass, right?
Yeah.
Those are all vocal tracks, and you're doing 3 per track. It's got to be more than 50. So you have at least 50.
Well, so one thing, I'll tell you, one thing that I've learned to do, essentially I try to keep all my note parts on like one track. So even if I'm going through a bunch of sections of the song, as opposed to opening up a new track every time I want to do a vocal part, I'll just use one of the same tracks that I've been using.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
but it's a different...
It's
a different part of the songs.
But the same track. So essentially, the math breaks down. So if I'm using 3 notes, then I'm gonna have 9 tracks of vocals.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but that's for simplicity purposes, because other than that, the process kind of is like that. Like that's might be where I differentiate a little bit. Other than that, the process kind of did get to, it might be more than, like I'm showing you how many stacks I do, but in one of these sessions, it's possible that we stacked and, like I've listened to some of the masters on some of the records, and, there's like even background, there's like tracks of like the studio interaction going on in the background. Like you hear like laughing and joking, and you know what I mean, people ribbing on each other, and just like a whole good time just happening in the background on some of those tracks. You probably can hear it if you like really listen to some of the music, but
I've definitely heard that.
When I've sat down and I've sat and heard some of the masters broke down on some of the songs though, and I was just blown away. Like, wow, it's just like just talking a bunch of junk, and there's a track on the song. But like I said, there you go. Just throw a bunch of layers up there, and then you peel them back until it starts to look like a picture. Throw paint at the wall. Yeah, play that track. I think this is one that I used all 4 parts on. Yeah. Just an idea. Someone like you, baby. Yeah. Looking to find me someone like you, baby. Yeah. I said I'm looking to find me. Someone just like you, yeah. Makes my dreams come true. And I think of you. I'm just freestyling, y'all. So. Baby, and
Can you break those notes down? You got the session? You don't have the session, do you? Let me hear it again. I'm trying to see how many parts of harmony. I think I'm only using 3 notes on that, though. Yeah, I think it's only 3 notes. Makes my dreams come true. And I think of you. That's probably 3 or 4 notes. It's 3 or 4 notes. I can't remember. I need the session. I need to see the tracks, bro. I can't remember. But, that's another one. I applied the same thing. I said anytime I'm doing vocals, I tell you what, anytime I'm doing backgrounds, I typically max out at 9 tracks. You know what I mean? If I'm stretching it, it probably won't go any further than 12. You know what I mean? 15, I'm getting ridiculous. But that's the absolute max right there. But I do that, though. You know why I do that? I do that for engineers, because I'm sure the engineer would hate if I send him 1,000 tracks of vocals of every part that I decided to, I got something here, and open up a track for it and sent it to him. Another good thing I do for the engineers, too, I label my vocal tracks, too. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Label your tracks, man. Label your tracks. But yeah, that's what I do. I try to keep them all on, one track. So even if I'm going through sections of the song, I'm typically thinking the same way note-wise, right? So my high notes are going to be on like 1, 2, and 3. And my mid note is going to be on 4, 5, and 6. You know what I mean? And vice versa. My low note is 7, 8, 9. And yeah, so... And I just try to keep it like that. It even keeps it looking pretty on the screen. You know what I mean? Keeps the session looking all clean and everything. So, yeah. You like that, don't you, Dan? Yeah, you do. Yeah. Yeah, I've gotten sessions like that back from folks, man. I'm like, dude, it's like you don't even label it and... don't label no tracks, and then it's 1,000 tracks on here, and I only need 10 of the tracks out of it. Half of them are junk tracks. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nothing at all. It's like, what is this? Why is this here? You're driving me crazy. My brain does not want to do all this thinking. Any more questions out there from anybody, man? Don't be shy, guys. Give me some to roll with. Brittany. Oh, man. Whoa, man. I was trying to get out of here without having to do that. Dang. That I do. I mean, if we have time to break out an amp. Dan, you weren't supposed to get up. You were supposed to say no. Golly. I shouldn't have called on Brittany. Brittany making me earn my money. So the guitar thing is kind of, I really just, with the guitar thing, I'm typically really just throwing crap at the wall there and then just listening back. I'm a noodler, right? Because, I'm not a superior guitar player. I'm a competent guitar player, right? So what I will do is I will just play, right? I just put the track on and I just play. I'll just noodle around. And then I'll noodle through the entire track, and then I'll go back and listen to what I did, right? And a lot of the sections where I sound like I
intentionally, where I'm being intentional or sound like I got something that might work, that's kind of what I go with. And I'll just find little sections of that. You know what I mean? If I get enough sufficient sections, enough sufficient lines, then I'll probably just kind of chop it up and, just, I rarely will move my guitars because essentially when you play a guitar, you're playing a line in a certain spot in a, certain rhythm against a certain melody, and that's intentional. And, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, Gino, but, when you get a producer who will move your guitar track, will slide it, sometimes the licks tend to fall out of place. Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's what I'll do is I just do a bunch of noodling, and then if anything, I just kind of listen to what I did, and I might either just, cut out the bad spots, or I might just just try it again and go for the good stuff. I might catch the lines that I like, and then I'll just try to build around that. Yeah, so it's rare that I have an idea. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'll hear the track and I'll hear specifically something, and, but. Oh, you know what? I really want y'all to get, if we're going to do this, because, no, I play this guitar, but I want my pedal board. Because she mentioned my tone, so that's what I'm going to go with, since Brittany got me over here holding this guitar, and I didn't want to do that part. I didn't want to do that part. Yeah, you might want to grab my guitar too, bro. Brittany must be tipping. So
see someone doing something and then that kind of like, oh, I want to go do that now. Like, you know, I want that. Like, someone gets like something new, you kind of want to do the same thing. So we want to apply that to your artistry. You know, leave you guys with like new ideas, some new inspiration, and like to see where you can take it. You know, because the sky is not the limit. We're supposed to go to outer space anyway. You know, so everybody says the sky's the limit is just thinking too low. You know, it's like sky. I'm in outer space. Like I'm past the sky. You know,
Yo, guitar case.
Right. Yeah, that's that's it. You know, I know we got some producers in here. You guys want to tell me what all you guys do? Chris, producer, my man, you produce, play. Just enjoy. You guys gonna play music one day? You start playing music?
That one plays, well, he started on the piano.
Yeah.
Coda plays the drums.
Oh yeah.
And then the next one, his next one is he wants to do the guitar. He wants to do the guitar.
Oh, nice.
So that's why he started out on keys.
Nice, that's good. Well, you know, we want to help, like, you know, push that and encourage that, you know, because our children are not our future, they are today, you know, and they carry us for what our tomorrow is going to be, so we want to, if we can start young, you guys are, like, up close to the funk, you know, that's like, you know, they didn't put me next to the fire, they put me next to the funk, so, I came out funky.
Hear me? Yeah. Okay, my tone. So, what I am going for in my tone, I like my tone to be real mid-heavy and real kind of milky and juicy is what I like to consider it. So, the way that I achieve that, I simply use what they call a phase 90. That is the go-to pedal for me. That is a ultra funky pedal right there. A lot of chicken pickers tend to use that one. It tends to have a very spacey sound as well. So, and when I use my wah-wah with it, then sometimes I can get like let's see, we yeah, that's where I get that little spacey thing from, phaser and wah-wah, and that's what I'm essentially going for. And then sometimes when I might be playing a lead or something like that, then I have the old vintage fuzz face. It's a pedal Jimi Hendrix used to like. And you get your, let me turn that wah-wah off. Get your, Hendrix on, I got my fuzz face. And when I do turn the wah wah on with that, then I can go kind of crazy. Like, so that's where I get all that crazy wah wah chicken picking spacey sounding sound, and that's what I like because the funkadelic music, the P-funk music, is real heavy with guitar rhythms, right? A lot of people don't realize that a lot of the meat of those songs are rhythm guitar, and you know, some kind of chicken picking going on in the background that you don't even really realize is going on, but you subliminally are like grooving to it. You know what I mean? That rhythm guitar. My father played a lot of those rhythm lines on a lot of that guitar and did a lot of that. And this was kind of his go-to. So, you know, like I said, the same way I picked up the vocal stacking technique, that's where I get my tone inspiration from. I like to be like my pops, man. And my pops, his tone was like really, really mid-heavy. To be honest, I still haven't deciphered his full, the full, you know, I still haven't unlocked his full tone just yet. Because, you know, it was real, his was really milky, you know what I mean? Like, his dripped, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to get that one still, but yeah, that's the basis of my guitar tone, man. It's phase 90, it's fuzz face, the old vintage Jimi Hendrix fuzz face, and a wah-wah for added effect. You know what I mean? That's what I do. So, does that answer your question, Brittany? Some of them. You got another one? Apparently we got time. You got another question?
How do you, well, I think I asked before, when you're working with a producer and engineer, are you kind of crazy specific with what effects go on in that process besides your live process?
You talking about my guitar?
When you're producing it.
So when I'm recording it, to be honest, it depends on whether or not I feel like going to get my pedal board. If I don't feel like going to unpack the pedal board, I could just grab the guitar and I'll plug it up, and then I'll just use some, I'll play around with some of the preset effects that are in the program, and I'll go with that sometimes. You know what I mean? So, yeah, but when I'm really trying to be, when I know I need to like do some funk stuff though, this is what I do. Yeah, this is it right here. That's the only time I'm particular if it has to be funky. Other than that, I actually like to experiment with a bunch of different effects and a bunch of different tones. You know what I mean? Because sometimes I'll plug up and use one of the programmed effects, one of the presets, and I'll hear something that like really kind of interests me. Or sometimes I might hear something that just sounds like outlandish. You know what I mean? But sometimes that makes me come up with a concept. You know what I mean? Like that I might just noodle around and hear something, and it might make me think of something. So. Yeah, when producing, I'm not really particular unless it's a funk song. Yeah, because the funk has to have that flavor.
Yeah. Bass pedal, fuzz pedal, and the wah pedal. What's the last fourth?
So this is actually a wireless unit, so that I don't have to be hooked up to a cord, and it's actually a tuner as well. Yeah. Yeah, but I just wanted to get that one out the equation, because then I have to get that wireless unit, and it's more to hook up. So, yeah. Anything else out there? Anybody else? Any questions? Phase 90.
Was that like the first pedal that you were just like, okay, this is like, what was your first pedal that you just felt?
The phaser actually was the pedal. It was that pedal. Yep. Actually, the first phaser that I had was the green super phaser, though. It has a little deeper, it has like a deeper, whatever that is, like a deeper sweep or whatever it is to it. And no, it's actually, it was a Boss pedal, I think it was. Or was it Boss, or was it a Boss or Dunlop pedal? Yeah, I think it's a Boss pedal, yeah. The super phaser, though. Yeah. Oh, you have an old phaser.
Yeah, I got the old.
Okay, yeah, the old the old pedals, those are the ones that you want.
Yeah, that one was pretty good, but there's like lots of signal fades. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, you just need to find you a good tech. That's all you need.
But I got a phase 90. So okay, so what setting is your tone at?
Mine is, what is that? I guess that's just past 12 o'clock. Right here. Yeah, sometimes I'll have it here. You know what it actually kind of depends on? It really depends on what's going on in the room. You know what I mean? Because sometimes whatever that distance is in the tone or whatever, that dissonance in that sweep or whatever, sometimes in a real acoustic room, it can create feedback. You know what I mean? So sometimes you might have to just dial it back a little bit, but I like to have it as deep as I could get it without it going, oh, yeah, doing all of that, yeah. So, yeah, sometimes I will take it there though, because that's an interesting effect to try sometimes too. That's an interesting one to go with, interesting setting to go with sometimes, y'all. It's fun, but. Oh, okay. Well, experiment. It's too wavery.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I need like a wah before it or a fuzz. I think because when you just put, personally, I was just like, I don't know. But maybe it's just the styling too with the guitars. Do you normally play a Strat?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so single coils. Right?
Yeah. I know. Actually, I have. They are single coils, but I have Bartolini's in my Fender. Yeah, I sure do. Yeah. Any more questions out there while I got the guitar? If you want me to stay, you better ask some questions, or else I'ma get up and go. Oh, I wasn't playing. Are we done? Nah, I'm just playing, y'all. Anybody? Anyone? Is anyone in the comments? No one in the comments. We don't have any streamers?
We got some streamers, but no one's asking any questions.
Okay. Hi, streamers. Are you guys enjoying the stream? There's a question. Let's see if that gets some comments. Oh, I see. You got a question? I got to hide that projector light so I can see you. It's shining right in my eye. Take your time. Take your time.
Tell us about your first experience when you was a kid, knowing that you was birthed into the funk. like realizing as a kid.
What's your earliest memory?
Like, I don't know if people really believe me when I talk about this kind of stuff, but I actually kind of have like some really vivid memories of those times. And, I was like 2 and 3, but I have like some not a lot of them, but the ones that I have are like very vivid. I can vividly remember when they took me on and put me on stage, dressed me up and put me on stage at Madison Square Garden, packed house. It was a picture of it somewhere. I haven't seen that picture in a while, but they had me in like a little beret and, a little vest, and I'm just sitting there like, And I can remember clearly when I used to watch my dad. Like even at 2 and 3 years old, my dad was such a badass, but he was so bad that I even at that age, he would stop me in my tracks, and I'd watch him and be like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, I want to do that. He was dope. I remember, I can remember like traveling through the airport with the band, and and I can like clearly remember it just like seeming like this big traveling party, man. Like everybody was just laughing all the time, and joking all the time, and just happy all the time. And times weren't really that good then, you know what I mean? But well, of course, you know. But it was just, it was also, they also loved each other, you know what I mean? So it was also just a good vibe, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of what I'm trying to get across, is that I can remember that it was just like a constant good vibe. You know what I mean? Like even some of them would still be walking around, traveling through the airport in what they would, wearing to stage. So it was like literally remembering that it just never stopped. It's like it just didn't stop until I was home. You know what I mean? And even at home, the music didn't really stop. They always were writing and recording and working on stuff. My parents, you know what I mean? And yeah, we just, those are my memories, man. Everyone, shiny costumes, catching people coming on and off stage, It was like Playland, man. It was amazing. It was clear at that age that it was something special. Even at 2 or 3, it was clear that it was something special. It was clear. And it was also clear that whatever it was musically was different from anything else that I like. I was a musical child. Like I listened to the radio. I can remember like specifically the songs that were on the radio during those times, like the hit songs that were in rotation. I can remember that, right? And I can remember thinking all the time, like, none of this sounds like the kind of stuff that they do. You know what I mean? It's like I knew even then that there was something different about what my dad and mother did. So, yeah, those are my early memories, man. I have vivid early memories of it. Yeah. I sure do. Well, my mother actually, my mother had actually met the band, and kind of started hanging out with the band before. It wasn't about my father. Like, she met my father in the midst of that, and along the way, my mother had she wrote a song on Parlet's Pleasure Principle album. I think it's called Are You Dreaming? I think is the song on that album. I think that's the name of the song. But she wrote that. My mother wrote
You can use the other one for a sec.
Y'all give a clap. Yeah.
Two. All right. So as I was saying, "Are You Dreaming?" I think is the name of the song on the Parlet Pleasure Principle album she wrote. So here's another good one, another good story for y'all, right? If any of you guys have ever heard, are any of you guys familiar with the One Nation Under a Groove album? Are you guys familiar with the Pro Mental Shitback Wash Psychosis Enema Squad song? It's the song where George is talking about the world is a toll-free toilet, and people are repeating him. So have you listened to the song? If you've listened to the song, right, towards going somewhere towards the middle of the song, there's a very sweet love song that's being sang underneath. The world is a toll-free toilet, talking shit a mile a minute, and blah, 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 and all this stuff George is talking about. It's a very sweet love song being sang underneath what's also one of the baddest musical tracks that I think I have ever heard, to be honest. It's so bad that the instrumental is on that record as well. But bad isn't bad. It's dope. It's dope. But all right, so there's a sweet love song being sung underneath it, right? So the story, the song, the music, the entire thing is my mother and my father having a love moment in the studio, right? Yeah, they're collaborating, but they're also the love song that's going on, and the process of it is very much a honeymoon. You know what I mean? It's very much a puppy love kind of thing, right? You know, they're loving each other and just, oh, it's so great. And just, it was that. Even the band members that were there at this session are kind of observing, and some of the women are like, oh, it was that kind of thing. It's oh, they're so sweet. It's like that, right? So they're in there writing this dope song. My mother's writing this lyrics. And, my father sits my mother down in the booth in a chair, and he's singing these lyrics to her, serenading her, and this is how the recording process. That's why I say they're loving each other while they're doing this. This is a whole, he's singing these lyrics to her, and and everyone's, oh God, they're so sweet, nah. You know what I mean? My father's putting all his, all this emotion into this track that he's building. And, it was this really, really heartfelt, passionate, fiery love song, right? George comes in, they say, George, you got to hear this. You got to hear what Gary and Linda did. George comes in, hears that, and says, oh, yeah, that's cool, but that's too sweet. Let me put my part on it. And George goes in there and literally took on it. That's the subject of his rant throughout the entire thing, is essentially, these are BM concepts is what he's ranting about, and it's a 10-minute track. He spends 10 minutes ruining this track, 10 minutes just on purpose. And so he's doing this, and my mother's watching, and my mother's kind of doing the, what is he doing to my song? And my dad was pissed. But yeah, and then he puts it on the record like that, and yeah, so that's a good one. But my mother wrote that one. She got writers on it, at least, because she definitely wrote what's going on underneath George's rant. And she also has writers on. Her and my dad wrote the song Liquid Sunshine, I think it's called. Yeah, Liquid Sunshine they wrote on the Motor Booty Affair album. So my mother's, she's got some credits in the band, and my mother probably would have been a lot more active if not for the fact that she had kids and had to stay home with the kids and take care of the kids, and so that's probably my fault that she didn't have a deeper run. But bless her for the sacrifice, because without her there's no me, right? Yeah. Anybody else while we're at it? In the back? What you got? No, but I'll share with you the next best one. Wildest. for a second. No, I can't talk about that one either. Okay, this is a light touch because we got kids here, so. So this is kind of like a cool one. This was like on my first tour, and this was probably more personal to me and more like wild and exciting for me than it probably really will be for you all. But so my very first like official tour with P-Funk was when I was young, before I was like in the band, and they just kind of used to hire us, and we weren't doing anything else with ourselves. It's like, well, come out here and be in the crew and hold some, sling some equipment and that, right? On my first official tour, they first officially put me on the payroll, and we were on a tour. We were on the Smoking Grooves tour with Erykah Badu. She was a new artist, pretty much. The Roots, the Brand New Heavies, Outkast did dates. Cypress Hill was on it. I was 19, so for me this was like a huge deal. A lot of the acts that were on this thing, and so it was like a 3-month tour. Somewhere early in the tour, we were in Camden, New Jersey, right? And so I was young, and there was a couple other guys out there that were on the payroll about my same age. So we used to have a thing where when the bus would park, we would venture out and, we would go find something to get into. We go looking for like girls or go shopping or, probably find a mall or something like that. So we had done this. We had went shopping and, normal routine. Come back to the bus and we get up on the bus, right? And as soon as you come up on the bus, walk up the steps, Busta Rhymes and Spliff Star were like sitting on the bus, and they were like watching the television, and they were watching footage of themselves on Smoking Grooves the year prior at the same venue. And Busta was like the dude then, right? So I remember how all of us, it was 3 of us, I remember how we all stepped up on the bus, and all of us kind of just walked up on the bus and proceeded to just walk to the back of the bus like nothing was going on. But I think all 3 of us had kind of like done this, and like none of us really knew what to do, so we all just beeline to the back of the bus and we just kind of like dropped the bags and just huddled up like, yo, it's fucking Busta Rhymes up there. And my boy Juan was out there. He was that was my boy. He was the kind of dude who would like ask the question that nobody else would want to ask. You know what I mean? So we congregated in the back and we kind of doing like, oh, that's Busta Rhymes up there. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, we gonna go talk to him? Like, what do we do? So it's like, well, it's our bus. You know what I mean? It's like, you think, it's like, yeah, it's like, you think he gonna be cool? Like, what do you know? Like, we just didn't, we was so dumbfounded, we was just like so dumbfounded. So we eventually all mustered up the courage to creep out, and speak. And he was mad cool, He was mad cool. And so the question that that was the setup for. There was a question that was asked, right? Nothing major, but at the time, Master P had just come out. He was like new, you know what I mean? And my boy Juan used to like be up on all these new Southern artists who at the time we weren't really like fans of. Like I especially me, I really couldn't stand Southern artists at the time. And Juan used to like kind of like really beat me in the head with Master P. And so the thing was, like, we had a thing where sometimes on the bus we would ask ourselves like if we thought some of our other favorite rappers like Master P, right? So leave it to Juan to say, at all the questions we're barraging them with, leave it to Juan to go, what you think about Master P? You like Master P? And he looks at all of us and Busta goes, man, hell yeah, man, I love Master P, man. And he goes to doing, is there heaven for a gangster? doing it the road, man. Buster was so animated, yo. It was like so animated, and I remember sitting there watching him. You know, that was the thing with him on stage back then. Like he was, you know, he was already an animated rapper, but like all his lyrics when he was live, you know, all those animations, he was playing them all out. So you know, he's very laid back now, and it's funny to watch him that way. But back then, he was like so, you know, just like energetic, and he just was a ball of energy on the bus, man. And it was just, that was actually, you know, I couldn't really go wild because we got kids here, but that right there was like the most exciting kind of craziest thing that I could think of, was like just randomly walking up on the bus, and Buster was sitting there smoking a blunt, just watching himself, like it, you know, chilling. And apparently the bus that we were on, he used it that last year on the tour, so he knew the driver and everything. So the driver, who was like this, you know, southern like redneck, you know, he's like be the last dude that you would think was like, oh yeah, Buster's my friend, you know what I mean? Buster was like his boy. He was like, you know, so there's something for you. Keep it PG. Anyone else out there? I respect him now. Outkast made me a believer. Yeah, you know what? I liked them back then though. Even when I was hating on Southern rappers, I know good rap when I hear it. So, Outkast, you know, Outkast is, you know, those are P-Funk clones. So, yeah, and you know, and Scarface too. I've always been a fan of him. Yeah, so he's actually a good friend of mine, and I'll tell you something else about that. Speaking of him, so have you've seen him lately with the guitars in his hand and all of that? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, if you have seen him perform in like the last maybe 10 or 15 years or so, he has a tendency to play a guitar on stage, right? And he's trying to show the world that he does that. So my dad gave him lessons. Dad gave him lessons. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he did some he did some shows though. He came to DC where I live. Yeah. But I'm not gonna comment on that. I had a feeling he wasn't gonna finish his tour. Anyone else? Did you remember what you gonna ask? Oh man, I bet you it was a good one too. You'll think of it when you get home.
Next time.
It'll be too late to ask me though. It'll be too late to ask me though.
And we're gonna wait to see him perform soon, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
What kind of music do you like to perform? You don't know yet? Think about it. You got time to figure it out. Okay,
that's where P-Funk come from.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
and all the greats.
Okay. No, yeah, that's all right. You know you got the next generation to carry it for you. Yep.
Right,
yep. You started the work, they'll finish it.
Yeah. Especially playing in the church, you know. That's how I learned how to play, and you know that's my musical upbringing was in the church. It was like, you know, that'll keep you sharp right there.
Yes, it will.
Keep you ready, and that'll keep you connected to the source, the real source of the sound that we need, which is the spirit that comes through us when we play. You know,
the soul.
Casper, not the friendly ghost, but the Holy Ghost. It's real, you know. So.
Yeah. Is that it? Any more questions? For fun, I vary, but lately I've been like on a real hard kind of like I've been between like Jimi Hendrix, Sly Stone kind of thing. You know, I've recently also been getting real heavy into Johnny Guitar Watson because I've been like trying to cover a couple of his songs. Yeah, yeah, he's the dude. He's the dude. He's so cool, man. I love him to death. But yeah, I think that's kind of where I am though. I'm kind of like on a soul R&B and like, you know, 70s kind of rock kind of thing, but more specifically Jimi Hendrix. You know what I mean? I've like really been in my Hendrix bag. Like I'm wearing his shirt too. And, you know, I've been there like really heavy lately.
Just because he's going to London.
Yeah, trying to go to London. You know what? If you know, that's so I am trying to move to London, and I'm trying to move there in the next few months because they're actually getting ready to start altering their visa requirements, and if I don't pull it off in like the next few months, I probably won't be able to do it, and you know, it'll be weird, right? And I'm halfway there. I've like halfway moved over there already, right? So all that to say, if y'all follow me on social media or y'all happen to follow me on social media, check my GoFundMe out because I'm trying to raise money to get this visa thing together because it's really ridiculously expensive, and the revisions came up as a couple of weeks ago. So I'm like fast forwarding from taking my time to save up to do this to, oh dag, if I don't do this in the next 2 months, then I might have wasted everything else that I've invested into it. So I just throwing that out there just in case y'all see my social media. If y'all check that out, you know, if anything, share it for me. All right, I appreciate that because, yeah, I've been doing some real heavy lifting up to this point. It would be unfortunate for me to have done all that lifting for nothing. Yeah. I've always saw myself wanting to live there, but it's just been like recently that it's actually, you know, been a thing that's actually possible for me. And so, you know, I've been pursuing it about the last 2 years now. So that's why I say I'm halfway there. Half my stuff is over there already. So if, you know, I can't live there, that'll be crazy. I'm like, well, I have stuff here. Okay, we don't care. We don't care. Get a visa. We'll let you get it. But yeah. So just on a side note, you reminded me. Other than that, though, you know, I hope a lot of this information was good and pertinent for you guys, man. If anything, I hope that y'all just had fun listening to me talk about some of this stuff and, you know, demonstrate some of my vocal styles. It was definitely fun feeling my way through this masterclass thing. I told you this was my first one. But I actually had already saw this as something that I probably could do, so it was good to get to break the ice on this, and I appreciate you guys listening and, you know, enduring my babble. Thank you guys very much for coming, man.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you so much.
And we want to get them to come back to do a part 2 to the session. You know, this is our first master class as well. So, like, you know, we want to build this up. And, like, you know, I'd love to get your information to link with, you know, the kids. Because, like, I want to do more events to where we can showcase them and, like, you know, help get, like, what they need, whether it's lessons, you know, mentorship.
We spoke about that last night.
You know, some studio time. Because, like, yo, like, these things are, like, it's expensive. Like, when I was growing up, you know, trying to find someone to give lessons is, like, it's hard. Especially, like, you know, when you have a gift, like, you know, they would be like, oh, but he's already got it, you know, like, it took me, like, years. I started playing when I was 2 years old on drums, like, you know, couldn't get anybody to teach me how to read music, and I would go, like, pay people for lessons, you know, like, and they want to jam with me, but they wouldn't want to teach me that, you know. But it's like we want to, like, and there were people that came in my life that did teach me, and that, like, I have mentors, so it's like we want to, like, keep that going because, like I said, like, they're not tomorrow, it's today. Like, the future will come in the future, but like they're here today, and like if we start investing in that now, then like their future will be bright, and we can keep it going, keep passing it down, and keep the culture moving. Because it's not just about like the glitz and the glamour. Like you can do this as a job, you can live doing this, and there's different avenues, and like we're all trying to figure out how to do it and where it goes. But together we can do it. And as a community, and like knowing that I like basketball, so I feel like everybody has a position that they play and a role. So it's like we all got to get assists. The more assists you get, then the more points are on the board, and the more that we all win. So we all want to win, get points. Like be like LeBron, be like Kobe. It's the year of the Mamba.
Win, no matter what.
So yeah, we want to keep that going. But yeah, I want to thank you guys all for coming. Thank you, Dan and Drew and KMG, for hosting us tonight. And we can't wait to do it again and keep telling people. And if there's anything I can do to help anybody musically, just hit me up. I'm here to help. I'm here. Whatever you need, I got you. What I can do. So let's just try to help each other and build each other up and keep it going.
No more questions from you, Brittany. Go for it. Oh man, I'm not a favorites person because I like a whole bunch of stuff. But I guess if like life or death, and I had to answer, how do I feel today? I'm telling you, it just depends on what I'm listening to. Oh, okay, One Nation, Under Groove, because it means it's got the most probably personal meaning to me. You know what I mean? The most. It has the most like personal, sentimental meaning to me. I was born that year. I was born in that record. Like that story I told you about my mother and father loving on each other while writing that record. It was on that album. So like all that loving on each other, you know what I mean? Like I joke with them all the time. It's like I'm the one who brought the hits. The hits came with me, you know what I mean? And yeah, that's why they was loving on each other, because they was happy because they had a beautiful baby boy, and they was inspired, and they went and wrote One Nation Under a Groove. So that's why One Nation means the most to me. My father, he did a lot of that. He did a lot of work on that record, and that's probably the record that he did a lot of work on that got the most, that I don't know, because my father also, you know what? I could have sat here and told y'all a good long story about how Atomic Dog came together, but I guess we had to say that for the next one. But yeah, besides Atomic Dog, that song, that album, One Nation Under Groove, he probably did his best work with the band on that album, and his most inspired work with the band on that record, and I can hear it all through the record. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people might not understand what they're hearing, but people who have experienced him enough or were there, they know, like what they hear when they listen to that record. It's a lot of Gary Scheider all over that record. So that particular song, though, that's the hit from that record. That's the song from that album. So, and that's also the song that I first started to perform when I was brought into the band when my father passed away. So, that's probably the one. It means the most to me. Yeah. Thank you guys. All right, everybody be safe getting home, man. I'll see y'all next time. I love y'all for coming out.
And go check out our new single, Aphrodisiac, Watermelon Funk.
I'm on that too.